welcome to The Sacred Journey. The Sacred Journey is the program that reminds you that life is a wonderful adventure and each and every experience we have is a unique and perfect opportunity for learning. I'm Joyce St. Germain, and today's program is Finding the Good. And I'm so delighted to have Tracy Johnston with me. And Tracy and I met about a year and a half ago, maybe. And it was quite a casual meeting, and things have taken some interesting turns. So Tracy, thank you for coming.
Sure,
and
thanks for having me.
I think I've intrigued our viewers, like what are they going to talk about? Finding the good. You have quite a beautiful story to share. You're on this wonderful journey, and I'm going to let you take it from here.
Well, as you said, we met about a year and a half ago, and I was at a yoga class, and I was feeling the need to search for some good and search for help and assistance, and you were the substitute teacher of that class. And at the end of the class, you invited us to share things you were working with and wanted to put out there to the universe, and I hit a
Singing bowl.
Yeah,
singing.
And put out to the universe that I was working with breast cancer. And after class, you approached me and offered me the opportunity to continue doing this work together. And it changed my life, quite frankly. And as I was at that yoga class, I remember feeling that there has to be another way to go through this process. And oftentimes in our society, you hear about people battling cancer, and that never rang true for me. I didn't understand that. I didn't want to be clenching my fists. That frightened me. That
The
made
word
me,
battle.
yeah,
and
that made me
forceful.
nervous.
Okay.
Yeah, and it just also just felt wrong to me that I wasn't battling anything. I was trying to help myself, and I think of my children and signing help right when they were little. I was trying to provide assistance to myself, so why would I go in battling? And so when you and I first met, it was quite a remarkable visit.
I'm laughing. We'll fill our viewers in a little bit. When I teach yoga, I do it with a little shamanic twist. So we did a little shamanic ceremony at the end, where knowing that intentions can travel along sound waves, they can travel other ways too, but along sound waves, I invited people to put a message, a prayer, an intention into the bowl in a way, and then to strike it and to know that they were releasing along with their intention to release. They were releasing to the universe. So just so you'll know why that came into a yoga class. But just today, Tracy shared with me what the first meeting was, not the initial meeting,
right.
Our reunion was, and I had to laugh. It was the funniest thing. Would you share that?
So I told my husband that I was going to go to a yoga class. And
So you thought?
I thought. You handed me the card, and I thought, wow, she does this for cancer patients. Okay, one of the good things about cancer. I'm looking for the good. She might be a good. Let's go check it out.
And I do want to say, when someone has part of their journey is cancer, I offer my services at no charge. So, because I would never go to someone and say, come and see me, and it's going to cost you. So I offer as a gift, but I didn't know you thought you were coming to a yoga class.
Right, and so I showed up to this beautiful home and had no idea what I was about to participate in. And as I drove home that day, I called my husband once I had cell service and told him I did not go to a yoga class. I went to this woman who read my palms and who talked to me and who hypnotized me. And what's going on? And I remember being on the phone and hearing my husband giggle and laugh and thinking, oh dear, this is just how I roll. Like, things often go like this in my life. And that is part of why I'm happy that I'm sitting here, because to me, it's about staying open to possibility and open to whatever might be around that next corner or around that tree or whatever. And I tried to stay open in that initial yoga class with you, and I didn't know what striking the bowl would do. I didn't know what it meant, but it sure felt nice to do it. So I was really happy I did, and it led me to you and that first session together. And in that first session, I began to change my vocabulary. And I began to appreciate that you can go through cancer like this instead of like this and white knuckled. And this felt more important and useful to me. At the same time as meeting you, I was also reading a book called Prepare for Surgery, Heal Faster. And that book was recommended to me by my doctors at Dana-Farber. And it talks about the power of your brain and the power of your body to heal itself if you give your body what it needs and pay attention to your body. And it just dovetailed so beautifully with the things that you were sharing with me, and your vocabulary was so different. And for example, when you talk about a healing ceremony, I was so focused on surgery, and that is an ominous, heavy word that I don't have anything to do with. I just have to force myself to show up, and that didn't feel right. Like, how do you go into a double mastectomy with fists and lay there? Like, I couldn't understand that. And so once I met you and was reading that book about being open and receptive, and that I, as the key player in this healing team, I have a huge role. And you helped me to find that and discover that, and most importantly, to trust that I actually can do this.
You were so open and receptive that, and my apologies for not telling you you weren't coming to my home for a yoga class to my workspace. I thought I said that I do shamanic energy work and hypnosis, but nonetheless, you were receptive without hesitation.
Yeah.
You weren't even hesitating.
I was hungry for help.
And changing the vocabulary, like when people hear the word surgery, it's like, oh no, it's invasive.
Yeah.
It means something is terribly wrong. Mm-hmm. And then when we turned that word around and started calling it a beautiful healing ceremony would be performed on you, it was offered
totally
to you.
Eye-opening. It changed the way my husband thought about things. It changed the way I thought about things. And it also changed the way people treated me in the hospital. I believe that strongly. I showed up to the ceremony prepared with baskets of goodies and gifts because it's a ceremony. Usually ceremonies.
The hummingbirds are flying around us. How beautiful.
Is that what that was?
Yes. Look, they're dancing. I'm sorry, I got so excited I had to share that with our viewers.
That's so good.
That's a gift.
That is a gift. Don't take a hummingbird.
Their medicine is joy and beauty.
And
so you showed up with baskets of goodies?
I think that's a real strategy too, because you have to, from my perspective, I had to stay active and busy and figuring out what my role was in this recovery and healing. And so before every healing ceremony or surgery or procedure or whatever language works for you, I assembled a personal bag or box or basket that included pictures of my family, so that all who were taking from this basket or receiving would also know that it was personal to our little foursome and our little family, and a handwritten note, and then some of the usuals, chocolates and raspberries and fruits and lotions and things that were decadent and felt nice. And so I brought them to each of the hospital visits that I've had, and it was amazing to me to watch people approach this thing. It suddenly bridged you and I, like we were together, the anesthesiologist, the nurse, whomever, and they would all be like, oh my God, is that raspberry? Those are for us? I'm like, yeah, take them. And just watching that we're all in need. And I guess now, right, with this new virus world that we live in, we're all so fragile and we're all so vulnerable. And it was a really powerful way to learn that we're all interconnected and we're all in this together, and it's worked out really well so far.
And that's one of the things that we strive for, is to realize that the surgeons, the practitioners, the nurses that are working on you are working with love and compassion, which is flowing freely through them because they've chosen a life of service to others. How could you not be connected? And even the drivers, the truck drivers that delivered whether it was the furniture for the OR, whether it was the medications, whatever it was, and everything I suggested to you as a possible way of looking at it, you grabbed it. Just like that. It was like,
They made sense to me.
I could see you, no matter what I was saying, when you were in this beautifully receptive state, I would see this smile break out, and I knew that you were embracing it. And we use words like embrace and honor and, you know, about the sacredness. You did something very cool that wasn't that long ago. You know what I'm talking about? Yes. You got to share?
So, yeah, one of the things that you had trained and helped to teach me in vocabulary-wise involved chemotherapy and sort of being open to chemotherapy. And that whole process from a port in your chest to the actual healing fluids that helped me to be here today. My first day of chemotherapy happened to be my birthday. And my husband and I chose that day because to me I was in the mode of ceremonies were important. And this was an important day for us. So why not take a huge leap? Why not show up for a big leap of faith? And so it was my 49th birthday. And we brought gifts because what is a birthday party without cupcakes? And so we brought 49 cake pops. And as we arrived, things were different back then. You could greet and chat with people in the waiting rooms, right? And
we used to be able to hug when we saw
regularly.
each other. But I'm counting how many we owe each other.
I know. It's quite a few now. When we arrived to the waiting room there, I don't know if you or any of your viewers have been to a waiting room that is specific for cancer patients, but most people are staring at their shoes to be respectful of your space and whatever you might be working on and working with. And I'm not really a shoe girl. So I like nice shoes, and look, we're both wearing colored shoes, but I'd much rather connect with you. So as soon as I walked in with these cake pops, people were just instantly chatting, and the waiting room went from this quiet, dull place filled with fear to a happy hour of sorts. And people chatting, and this one woman said to me, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you have to get chemo on your birthday." And you helped me to respond to her in a really meaningful way, and I said, "But I'm really getting the gift of more life on my birthday. What better present do we need?" And I believed that, and it really helped me. So when I turned 50 this year, I felt that I had to go back there. And I wasn't sure how or what, but it morphed into something we called the Kindness Parade. And rather than just bringing cake pops, because I couldn't go in, we brought cake pops, but we brought kindness kits, and they were little light bags, and they had at least 15 to 20 items in each of these bags, and we had 50 of them. And we delivered the bags to all the patients and the staff that were inside the Avon Cancer Center. And then we proceeded to do a parade around the outside of the building. It wasn't your usual parade. Most of us had matching t-shirts on. We had a woman walking in stilts, my cousin. We had kids in Halloween inflatable costumes because, you know, you gotta giggle when you're
celebration.
Right, when you're
It's a
attached.
parade.
Exactly, and when you're going through chemo, you could use a distraction. And so looking out the windows, they all saw us and would wave to us. And we had a big banner, and the banner was donated, the Kindness Parade, and at the end of it, there was another banner. And it was the most special birthday of my life.
Oh. And I want to point out, I'm listening to you carefully, and I know our viewers are too. You have never been in denial.
No.
You have never. You said something a little earlier about choosing what you want to put your attention on. Do you want to put that in your own words? I think that could be really helpful.
Yeah, so when I was diagnosed with cancer, I felt the need to find the good and to figure this out and to make sense of it. And I went to see a doctor who I really admire, who speaks a similar language to me, and he was spectacular. And he told me that I was struggling, and I was really having a hard time making sense of it, and wondering if I should be making videos for my children. Should I be writing a book for my children? Should I be leaving notes for people? Because stage 3 cancer is really scary, and it forces you to think about things maybe you hadn't thought about before, your own mortality and tomorrow in a way that's different. And he asked me, "So did you find it?" And I said, "Well, find what?" As I told him I was afraid. And he said, "Did you find it?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "The thing you're looking for, have you found it?" And he stood up and he turns around And he looks at me and he goes, "Did you find mine?" And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "My expiration date." "Do you know where my expiration date is? Where's yours?" And I said, "No, I don't know where yours is." And he's like, "So how's that going for you, searching for yours?"
Wow.
And
I want to give him a shout out.
That was Dr. Evan Fox.
Okay.
And he then said, "How's that working for you?" And I said, "Well, it's not great. It's definitely not something I recommend." And he said, "So maybe there's another way to go about this." And he offered me the suggestion, which was having cancer or a serious illness like this provides you an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to pay attention. So the real question is, what do you want to pay attention to? And so in this last year and a half, we've been paying attention to other things, like having a kindness prayer.
And joy and
spending time.
beauty,
Yeah,
as
spending time.
we just got demonstrated
Right,
by the
and noticing who shows
hummingbirds.
up and what shows up, and being receptive and open to new things like this experience. And yeah, it's really quite remarkable.
You embody openness and receptivity. This is not like us saying, you know what a blessing it is to have cancer. But what an opportunity to see blessings you wouldn't have noticed or hadn't noticed.
Yeah, I have an example of that, if you don't mind.
Oh, please share.
So we happen to live on a busy street and have a little free library in our front yard. And
Of course you do.
that little
'Cause that's
library
you.
sort of speaks to me and through me and with other people. And so there's always people in our front yard, walking, foot traffic, children, grandparents, babysitters, nannies, moms, dads, everybody. And it's also an opportunity to sort of say hello, because rarely do we do that. Now we do a little bit more since the virus. But and the little free library also had a chair so you could sit and relax. And it always amazed me how many people use that chair. And you can see it from our dining room window, and it's just so quintessential, Norman Rockwell-ish. And for whatever reason, when I got diagnosed, I felt the need to talk about it. But not loudly, but just to acknowledge, similar to you wearing those colorful shoes. They're beautiful and they have a purpose. They match, they coordinate, they pull it together. So on the chair, I put a Rubbermaid container and I put a laminated card that said, it was a picture of my family, and it said, "We are finding our way with breast cancer. Feel free to leave us an encouraging note." And inside the bin, I put markers and some index cards, having no idea what might happen. But something told me, I just got to see where this might go. And our dining room had new wallpaper in a matter of weeks. It was
Just from the
card
notes.
after card after note after card after note. And then once people knew that bin was there, they'd bring their own, they'd make more, they'd send some from the schools, from the principal, from the mail carrier, strangers, people I did know, people I didn't. And I'll never forget on those days where I wasn't well, where I was really struggling and I was sick. During dinner, my children and my husband and I, we all had the opportunity to talk about that teacher and that person. And one teacher wrote something that was really funny, and it had a reference that suggested she wanted to swear about cancer but didn't actually swear. And my kids thought it was really funny, and it was clever, and it gave us something to chuckle about. So our whole dining room became wallpapered in kindness, and that people cared, and even people we didn't know. And that was really powerful to us.
And we talked about how intentions can travel through sound. They were traveling through sight. Their intention was put in that visual. And when you looked at it, it carried the essence and the energy and the intention of their well wishes.
It was remarkable. There were people that would literally wait if someone else was writing a note, and at times, and not people I knew. And ironically, almost a year after I had taken the bucket down and put it aside, I was at a gathering in another town, not where I live, and people were chatting, and they were strangers to me. I went to visit a friend whose birthday it was, and I didn't know most of the people there. And one thing led to another, and these people were so lovely and kind, and it was great. Turns out someone wrote in my box in that group of people and had no idea it was me, and I had no idea it was her. And she's like, "Wait, is that your house with the turquoise door, with the library and the turquoise chair? And was that you I wrote to? With your kids? You had 2 kids?" I said, "Yeah, that's us." She's like,
Oh,
so, you know, I
beautiful.
really feel like we're all interconnected, and I have proof of that everywhere I look.
We are. Just want to check with my camera person how much time we have left. We have 3 minutes left. That's pretty precious. I want to stress that in any given moment, we have the free will to choose what we want to feed. Do we want to feed fear? Do we want to fear optimism and joy? Do we want to use words that just feel to us like they're frightening? Do we want to use words that sound like they're just welcoming and
soothing.
like they embrace? And I am 1,000,000% convinced you fed receptivity and joy and hopefulness, and you had a choice.
Oh yeah, and there were days it was hard to choose these things, and moments where it's tough. But yeah, I think it's really, really important to find what feeds you, but also soothes you and nurtures you, and finding the right people that echo that to you, right? And you've been a part of that for me. All the doctors and nurses that I've chosen and selected, both my team at Dana-Farber and in Hartford, they've all mirrored that for me, and that has really helped to keep me going.
Is there anyone by name that you would like to thank? I know there's always the chance you're going to forget somebody, but anyone that you want to be sure to name.
It's interesting. Between my yoga teacher and you and my circles and layers of people,
It's a wholeness.
it is. There's a whole big circle or a web, and my family has also been really mighty in being receptive and putting up with some of these wacky different ways that I've handled things like a box in our front yard, and it's really been wonderful. So, no, I don't want to single one person because everyone's really special.
I know that we're going to share your email address, so if someone is looking for a like-minded doctor, that's what I meant, someone in the professional field that supported.
Right, so for
what you
me,
wanted.
I found what I was looking for at Dana-Farber.
Okay.
The teams of doctors that were there, that's who recommended that book, Preparing for Surgery, Heal Faster. So when you go into surgery up there, you actually write a message to your doctor and they pin it to your Johnny. So while you're sleeping, they are talking to you and reading and saying what you want to hear from them. And that gives me goosebumps every time. And they ask you, do you have something in particular you want us to do or say to help you to heal faster? And to me, that really speaks volumes to me. So
it does. Yeah. And the interconnectedness just grows and grows and grows and grows. And you're the perfect example of that. I would like to share with our viewers that I am always available to anyone for whom cancer or serious illness is something that they're facing, something that's in your life. I offer my services at no charge. I'm happy to work with groups of people or individuals, so healthcare professionals. I would be happy to help, and I have a lovely team member here that I think can help you with the real life part of things. I hope that we get to come back and do something like this again, because we have a wonderful journey ahead of us.
It's exciting.
And I'm honored to be a part of yours. And every time you have something upcoming that will be a change or a process, you reach out, we put together a session, but you're well informed. You know exactly what the procedure or process will be so that I can formulate the positive and the
you
way
can help me to shape my language.
Yeah.
So that I feel, dare I say, even excited about it. Like the day I walked in for my double mastectomy, I was excited. And that's not like me.
Well, that wouldn't be like anybody, but knowing that a team of gifted, compassionate healers were going to offer you a beautiful ceremony.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful way to end. So thank you so much. This is our virtual hug. We'll make up for it later. Thank you so much for joining us on The Sacred Journey. We'll catch you next time.